Hey guys, it's Rishi once again, and today we're back with solving quadratics by factorizing. So, what are quadratic equations? Now, a quadratic equation contains only terms up to and including x squared. And each method also provides information about corresponding quadratic graphs. Now there's many ways to solve quadratics, and all quadratics can be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b and c are numbers. Please remember that a cannot equal to 0, but b and c can. So once again, it can be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Remember, a cannot be equal to 0, but b and c can be. Now, a quick example of a quadratic equation is question 1a and 1b. As you can see, it follows the same form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a equals 1, b equals 3, and c equals minus 28. So let's dive into solving by factorizing. So now, if the product of two numbers is 0, then one or both of the numbers must also be equal to 0. So let's go ahead and dive into this first example and see what I mean. So as I mentioned, a is equal to 1, b is equal to 3, and c is equal to minus 28. So now the first thing we're going to do is multiply a and c. So this is called the AC method. So a times c. We know a is 1, and we know c is minus 28. So if we times that together, we get minus 28. Now, that being said, we need to find out two numbers that multiply to give us minus 28 and add to give us 3. So once again, multiply to give us 28 and add to give us 3. So let's list down our factors of 28, which is 1 and 28, 2 and 14, and 4 and 7. Well, we know that we need to get a minus 28. So our answer will definitely have a positive and a negative. So let's go with 4 and 7. Because we know that 7 times 4 equals 28. And 7 plus minus 4 gives us 3. So first things first, a squared, which means a times a. So we'll have two brackets open, where one will have an a at the beginning and so will the second. We then know both our numbers are 7 and 4, and we know we need to make minus 28. So one is going to be a plus and one is going to be a minus. But how do we decide which one it's going to be? Well, this is where our b comes in. We need to make a plus 3. So we know if we have a plus 7 and a minus 4, we could have 7 plus minus 4. And you know a plus and a minus gives us a minus. So that's 7 minus 4, which gives us 3. But now if we were to have a minus 7 and a positive 4, you know that would give us a minus 3. And that is how you find out whether you're going to have a plus 7 or a minus 7. So now we know our answer will be a plus 7 and a minus 4. Now if we expand this, we will definitely get a squared plus 3a minus 28. Marvellous. Let's now move over to part B. So now part B asks us to solve this equation. And when we're solving the equation, we just have an additional step in addition to our answer. So we take our answer, which is a plus 7 and a minus 4, and we equal this to 0. And we need to make a the subject. So what we can do is, again, take the 7 over. So we have a equals minus 7, and take the minus 4 over, which is a equals 4. And that's merely our answer. A can equal minus 7, or a can equal 4. And there's a quicker way. If you notice that we simply do the opposites. If it's a plus 7 here, this will become a minus 7. If it's a minus 4 here, this will become a plus 4. So that's a quick and easy way to double check how to get your answer. So I hope this first example was clear. Let's now dive to question 2. So 2a. Factorize x squared minus 7x plus 10. So again, we're going to take our AC method. We'll have a and c. We know x doesn't have a variable in front of it, so we'll consider that to be 1 times by 10, which gives us 10. We'll then get all of our factors of 10, which is 1 and 10 and 2 and 5. And as we've mentioned, we need to multiply to make 10 and add to make minus 7. So we know we're going to pick 2 and 5. So again, we have two x's, so I'll have two brackets open here. And I'll go with x in the first and x in the second. But now I need to make minus 7. So I know minus 2 plus minus 5 will give me minus 7, and that is my answer. And then if I need to solve this, I know it's going to be the opposite signs, so I'll have x equals 2 or x equals 5. And they are both positive numbers. And once again, I know this because I have x minus 2 equals 0. But if I take the 2 to the other side, I'll have x equals positive 2. I'll do the same with x minus 5 equals 0. Take the 5 over, and that's x equals positive 5. And there we are. Marvelous work. Okay, so I hope you've now got a good understanding of the AC method, how we can work with solving quadratics by factorizing. So remember once again, if x minus 2 and x minus 5 equals 0, then x minus 2 equals 0 or x minus 5 equals 0, or both. And that is what I've done in this section here. So factorizing quadratics will also be used to solve the equation. Okay, over to question number 3. So now we'll go ahead and we will highlight our A and our C. We know again there's no variable in front of B. So we'll have 1 times 20, which equals 20. That's your step 1 done. Step 2, get your factors. So we have 4 and 5, 2 and 10, 1 and 20. We then go ahead and find two numbers that add to make 9. We know that's 4 and 5. And we can go ahead and write out our answer, which is going to be b plus 4 and b plus 5. And there we are. And now to solve this, we know b plus 4 equals 0 and b plus 5 equals 0. By making b the subject, we know b equals minus 4 and b equals minus 5. So we can simply write that down. Okay, again, we're going to go ahead and repeat this for question 4. We'll do our a times c. We get minus 18. We get our factors, and we need to find a factor that adds up to minus 3. So I know I'm going to go with 3 and 6, 9 and 2, and 1 and 18. I'll go ahead and work with 3 and 6. And I know that positive 3 minus 6 will equal minus 3. And that is our b. So now I'll take my two x's, and I'll take plus 3 and minus 6. And when I'm solving this, I know it's going to be the entire opposite. So it's x equals minus 3 and x equals plus 6. And there we are, the two opposites. Okay, you're doing really well. Don't forget to pause the video, attempt the question yourself, and then go ahead and press play. I'll in fact give you a few minutes to go ahead and pause the video now. Please attempt this question, and then we're going to go through it together. Marvelous work. Let's now dive through this. As you can see, we've got a times c, which is going to be 9. We know we'll have our factors in this place, and we'll go ahead and choose 1 and 9 to get minus 10. So we have y minus 1 and y minus 9. And that is because two negatives equal a positive, and minus 1 plus minus 9 gives us minus 10. That satisfies our expression. And then for solving the equation, we can simply say y plus 1 or y plus 9. And there we are. And for solving the equation, we can say y equals 1 or y equals 9. And then over to question 6. We'll do the same thing. 1 times 56 is 56. We don't need to worry about the minus at the moment. But let's get our factors down. And again, we need to make sure we get a minus 1. I know it says a, but we don't usually say 1a or 1x. If it's just a letter, it's considered to be 1. So in order to get that, we know we have 7 times 8, which is 56. And we know the difference is also 1. So on the basis of that, we can simply say a plus 7 and a minus 8. And that's 7 take away 8 gives you minus 1. Or we can say minus a. And for solving the equation, we can simply say a equals minus 7 or a equals positive 8. And that's done. So I hope you feel more confident now in terms of how we can answer and factorize our quadratics. Remember, the only difference here is that we have a squared. And a squared just means that there's 2 of the same value. Okay, over to questions 7 and 8. We now want to simply go ahead and complete part A and B in one go. As we can see, we've got a solve equation here. So again, we'll go ahead and do part A, which is x times 24, which is 24. We'll then get our factors, which must add up to 14. We know that's going to be 2 and 12. So we can have x plus 2 and x plus 12, and that equals 0. We then know they're going to be the opposite operation. So we'll have x equals minus 2 and x equals minus 12, and that is our answer. Beautiful. So I hope you can see how we've gone ahead and worked with A and B to factorize and solve, but we've now gone ahead and done that in 2 easy steps. Let's now go ahead and do the same thing for question 8 and 9. Please feel free to pause the video now, attempt these questions, and then we're going to go through it together. Okay, great work. Let's dive into this right away. So 1 times minus 6 is minus 6. We need 2 factors that add up to plus 5. So we have 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. I'm going to go for 1 and 6. I'm going to have x minus 1 and x plus 6 equals 0. Because minus 1 plus 6 equals plus 5. And now we know it's going to be x equals to positive 1 and x equals to minus 6. And there we are. Okay, question 9, we'll do the same thing. 1 times 6 is 6. We'll get our factors, which is 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Again, let's go ahead and find 2 numbers that are going to add up to 5. This time I'm going to have to take 2 and 3. And we'll get x plus 2 and x plus 3. And that equals to 0. We'll then make it the subject. So we'll have x equals minus 2 or x equals minus 3. And there we are. Now, before I move on, many of you must think, why did he choose 2 and 3? Why not 1 and 6? Well, let's go ahead and select 1 and 6 and let's see what happens. So let's say we have x plus 1 and x plus 6. Now, if you remember, we had to multiply both numbers to make 6, which it does. 1 times 6 is 6. But for the second step, we need to add them up to make 5. Now, if we add up 1 and 6, they give us 7. And that is not what we require. So for that reason, I have not chosen 1 and 6, and I've gone ahead with 2 and 3. So if you ever come to a predicament where you don't know which number to choose, make sure it satisfies both of the steps. To multiply, to calculate the value of C, and to add to calculate the value of B. I hope that is clear. Let's now move on to question 10. Again, repetition is key. So now spend time on 10 and 11. Pause the video now, attempt it, and then we'll go through it together. Okay, let's go through it. So we'll have x times by 32. That then gives us 32. We'll go ahead and find the factors that add up to make minus 12. We know it's 1 and 32, 2 and 16, and 4 and 8. Now out of those, we're going to pick 4 and 8. And because we have a negative in the first case and a positive in the second, we know they are both going to be negatives, because two negatives multiplied together will give you a positive. So we have minus 4 times minus 8, which gives us minus 32, which gives us plus 32. And then if we want to make if we want to solve for x, we will have x equals 4 or x equals 8. Okay, question 11, we'll have the same. X times 90 is 90, because it's seen as 1. We then need to get two factors that add up to make 19. We know right away it could be 9 and 10, because 9 times 10 gives us 90, which is our C, and 9 plus 10 gives us 19, which is our B. We've now satisfied both of the arguments here, so we can go ahead and write out x plus 9 and x plus 10. And to make that the subject, we'll have x equals minus 9 and x equals minus 10. And that is our answer. Marvelous work. Okay, so before I move on, I'm just going to go back to this and write out my step 1, which is to find out two numbers that multiply to make C and add to make B. And then to go ahead and have your step 2, which is to solve for x. Marvelous work. Okay, let's go for question 12. So with question 12, once again, we know the drill. Step 1, multiply a and c. We'll get minus 42. Go ahead and find out your factors. So we have 3 and 14, 2 and 21, 1 and 42, and 6 and 7. Now, these are all the factors multiplying to make 42. Now, which factor can you see that adds to make 11? You know we have the difference of 11 between 3 and 14. But as we have a positive here and a negative here, we know we're going to have a positive and negative within our answer. So we'll have x minus 3 and x plus 14. And you can see that minus 3 times plus 14 is minus 42, because we have a positive and a negative. And we know that minus 3 plus 14 gives us plus 11. So it satisfies both arguments. And now we can go ahead and say x equals 3 and x equals minus 14. And that's what we're going to write out here. Beautiful. Okay, question 13. You guys are doing really, really well. So let's keep up the great work and attempt these two questions. So press pause now, and then we'll go through it together. Okay, let's go through this. So a times c gives us 16. We then find the factors that multiply to make 16 and add to make minus 10. We know that's 2 and 8. As you know, 2 times 8 is 16. And minus 2 plus minus 8 is minus 10. So we know it's going to be a minus 2 and a minus 8. And that equals 0. And then we make a the subject. So we have a equals 2 or a equals positive 8. Marvelous work. Okay, let's move over to question 14. And with question 14, we have two numbers that need to multiply to make minus 35. We know that can be 5 and 7 because they also have a difference of 2. It's both negative, so we'll have y plus 5 and y minus 7, which equals 0. I know this because 5 times minus 7 equals minus 35, and 5 plus minus 7 equals minus 2. So again, satisfying both of the arguments, and we can say y equals minus 5 and y equals 7. Beautiful. Okay, we're almost approaching the end now, guys. So keep up the great work. Don't forget to pause the video at any point in time. Attempt the questions yourself and then go through the answers. Right, question 15. Step 1, we multiply A and C. That there gives us 54. We get our factors, and we're going to pick 9 and 6 because we know that it adds up to positive 3. So we'll have x plus 9 and x minus 6. We know this equals 0. And we'll have x equals minus 9 and x equals positive 6. And that's our answer. Beautiful. Okay, over to the final set of questions. We've got 16 and 17 and 18. Now for 16, let's go ahead and attempt this question right away. So feel free to pause the video at any time, but I'm going to go through the questions now. So we'll have the same thing as before. 1 times minus 24 is minus 24. We'll then go ahead and find the factors, and we need to make sure it adds up to make minus 10. We know that is 2 and 12. And we'll have b plus 2 and b minus 12. That is because 2 times minus 12 is minus 24. And 2 plus minus 12 is minus 10. So as you can see, this is our C and this is our B. Now we've gone ahead and done that. Let's go ahead and solve for B. So we know we'll have B equals minus 2 or B equals plus 12. And there we are. Okay, the same goes for 17. A and C gives us 40 when we multiply them. We then need to find factors that will add to give us 13. So we'll have 5 and 8. So we'll then go for m plus 5 and m plus 8 equals 0, with m equals minus 5 and m equals minus 8. And we'll simply write that down. And let's go for the final one, 18. You guys have come really, really far by coming to question 18, and I hope you now feel more confident in this topic. So let's go ahead. Step 1, multiply this out and find our factors, which is going to be 12 and 2. And let's go ahead and write down x in the beginning of both of our brackets, and we'll have plus 12 and minus 2, which equals 0. And then we'll have x equals minus 12 and x equals positive 2. Marvelous work. And there we are. That there brings us to the end of our topic here. I hope you found it useful learning about quadratic equations by factorizing, and how this method helps you break down an equation into smaller, more manageable steps. Remember that a quadratic equation contains terms up to and including x squared. In total, there are 3 main methods in which we can use to solve a quadratic equation, which is factorizing, using the formula, and completing the square. So don't forget to share and subscribe to our channel, where you will then be kept up to date and notified for when we upload videos for the next 2 topics related to this. Keep up the great work, and I'll see you in the next video.